Hi guys, welcome to The Bite. My name is Jackie. Today I'm going to be sharing with you a delicious Afghan recipe called Bolani. Bolani is a kind of like a stuffed flatbread. You would typically find it as an appetizer in a lot of Afghan restaurants, but I'm going to be showing you a shortcut version today that a family friend of ours shared with me, and I love it so much. And I'm going to show you kind of a separate way to use the filling as well. You will find bolani with potatoes and onions, which is what I'm making today. You'll find it with leeks, and I think you can even find one with pumpkin. I'm not 100% sure, but I think I've heard about that. But today I'm going to be showing you the potato version, which happens to be my favorite, and I can't wait to eat it because they are absolutely delicious. So I don't have all the ingredients in front of me right now, but what I'm doing is just dicing up some potatoes to boil them. Essentially, we're making kind of like a mashed potato filling, but just spiced up a bit differently with things like cilantro and some madras curry powder. So you just want to start with cold water, dice up your potatoes roughly around the same time so that they cook around the same time, and then make sure that they're fully submerged in the water, like so. Take some salt just to flavor the water that the potatoes will cook in, because potatoes need a lot of salt. And I'm going to bring this to a boil. While that happens, I will show you the rest of the ingredients. Potatoes are boiling. Just want them to soften a little bit so I can drain the water and mash them all up. Over here for the filling, what we're going to mix in with the potatoes, I have some diced onions that I've diced up quite finely, some garlic, and a bunch of cilantro, one full bunch that I'm going to be chopping up with the stems, because the stems do have a lot of flavor. I just chop off the very ends of them, and then I just chop the rest of it all the way up. For the spices, I have salt and pepper, a little turmeric, and this is madras curry powder. So our family friend told me to use this one, and it really lends a beautiful flavor. The ingredients are coriander, turmeric, salt, fennel, chili, black pepper, fenugreek, garlic, bay leaf, cumin, ginger, and cassia. But typically, instead of combining all those spices together, you can actually find madras curry powder in like a conventional grocery store. If not, I would suggest to head to a Middle Eastern grocery store. So if you don't have a Middle Eastern grocery store near you and your conventional grocery store does not sell madras curry powder, you can always just do a mix of the ingredients, the list of spices that I just listed off, and make your own version, or you can buy it online. You can buy everything online. The shortcut that my family friend told me about was to use eggroll wrappers. So traditionally, bolani is made with homemade dough, like a handmade dough for a flatbread that is stuffed. So you would just put it out, stuff it with your filling that you cook, and then fold it over, and then do it on like a flat surface to where it kind of gets brown and toasty on both ends. Well, what she did, and I think a lot of other families tend to do if they're in a pinch, they use eggroll wrappers. So what you would do is you would fill it just the same, and then you actually fry it on both sides so that the edges get nice and crispy and the inside is nice and fluffy, and it's absolutely delicious. So that's what I'll be using today. I know it's not traditional, but it is a really great shortcut, and it's a really great thing to make during Lent, because it's a nice different flavor that you don't typically get, and you definitely don't typically get in an eggroll wrapper. So I thought this would be something nice to share. So I'm gonna just chop up this cilantro, and then I'll meet you at the stove so we can get this all going. So I have a large nonstick skillet here with a little bit of olive oil on medium heat. I'm just gonna add the onions and the garlic and get those going for a bit before I add in the spices. This part really doesn't take very long. The whole thing really doesn't take very long, to be honest, because you can do all the chopping while the potatoes are boiling. By the time you're done chopping, the potatoes are probably done. Like, these potatoes are pretty much done by now. I'm just gonna drain this water and kind of mash them all up so that I can add all the filling into here. The onions and the garlic take no time. You add the spices. I mean, that's pretty much it. So once these are kind of translucent, then I'll add the spices, and then the last thing we'll add is the cilantro, because we want that to stay nice and bright and green and fresh, and just add a lot of really good flavor to it before we add it to the potatoes. So once the onions are ready, I will show you. So now that the onions are done, they're looking translucent, kind of developing a little bit of color, I'm just going to add in the spices. Now, for the spices, the nice thing about this is that you can kind of taste it as you go along to know if the spices are to your liking. By the way, my madras curry powder has salt in it. So for that reason, if I wanted more salt, I add that as the very last ingredient just to make sure that it doesn't get too salty. So I'm just adding the madras curry powder in right now. If I feel like adding more later, if I feel like it needs more flavor or more color, I can always do that once it's in the potatoes. The mashed potatoes are done, and those are going along quite nicely. I'm just gonna add a little bit of turmeric and just for a little extra golden color, and it looks really pretty with the potatoes once they're cooked. I'm gonna shut off the heat right here. Add in my cilantro. Do you see how finely that's chopped? That's how I like it. Okay, you can always do it a little bit less or even use a food processor if you want. Let that wilt just a tiny bit and get it nice and fragrant. And then we're ready to add it to our potatoes and fill those egg roll wrappers. So the potatoes are done. I'm just going to add all this filling right on in and then give it a taste to see if it needs anything. By the way, look at how beautiful this mixture is. You can just tell how fragrant and just flavorful that it is. And when you make this, that's cilantro. If you don't like cilantro, you can always substitute it for parsley, but really it's not the same. I happen to love cilantro, so I used a whole bunch of cilantro in here. So you can see that the potatoes kind of start to take on that yellow color and look absolutely beautiful. I should probably mix it with a metal spoon instead. Probably will be a little bit better. So I'm gonna give this a good mix, make sure that it's all combined. If it needs more spices, I will add them. If it needs more salt, I will add it. It does look a bit dry, and if that's the case, I'm just going to add a bit of olive oil just to kind of get things going a little bit here. And then we can stuff our egg roll wrappers. I'll show you what the filling looks like once it's done though. So this is what the filling should look like once it's done. Kind of like golden, luscious, beautiful mountains of mashed potato heaven, basically. So that is set aside. Now we're gonna start on the egg roll wrappers. So you just take one and you need a cup of, or a little bit of water here just to dip your fingers in so that when we stuff these, we can seal them. So just gonna take one. Ooh, this one kind of broke. Okay, we're gonna make do with this one. It broke, but it's all right. It's all right. So we're gonna take a little bit of filling. Now remember, we don't want to overfill these. If you watched my homemade wontons video, you don't wanna overfill these. These are bigger, obviously, than the wontons, but still, nonetheless, you don't wanna fill them. You can make them in a triangle shape or as like a long rectangle. Since these are not quite square, when you fold them in a triangle, it kind of leaves a little bit. So I always just fold them like this. You know what I mean? So I just stuff it that way. You kind of can flatten it out as best as you can. Then you just dip your finger and you write it all along the edges. Write it, did I just say write it? You just swing it all along the edge, just like this. Listen guys, it's 1 a.m. If I'm saying weird stuff, that's why. So seal it like this. I think this should stay closed. Let's hope. Let's see what happens. Hopefully the rest of them are not cracked, but I think this one will be fine. So you just want to make sure that the air bubbles are out and then just seal it like so. And then you have a Bolani. I love these. I love these so much. There is a place, I went to college in San Jose State for 1 year at least. And one of my really close friends, his name was Wasim, shout out to Wasim. We all went to this Afghan restaurant that my friend Wasim told us about. And we got some fresh Bolani where they made it with the fresh dough, and then they had mantu, and they had all the, if you know your Afghan food, you know all these things are just full of flavor. It's kind of like a mix of Indian and Arabic food, the way I see it, because they have a lot of kind of curry flavors and a lot of saucy stuff, which a lot of times Arabic food is not really like that, except for tomato sauces with our stews and stuff. But something about Afghan food, man, it just gets me every time. I love it. But if you're ever in, what is that area called? It starts with an F. If I think about it in this video, I will let you know. But man, I'm gonna let you know the name of that restaurant. I'll look it up and then I'll add it in some point of this video. Once I'm done with this, we're gonna head to the stove again to fry these all up. And you know, there are kind of multiple steps to this, but it really doesn't take that long at all. You can also prepare them a day ahead and make and like cook them the next day, or even freeze them and cook them. Like for those of you who are going to be doing Ramadan, I know I've heard that it's common to prepare foods and freeze them so that they're ready for you for sahur or iftar. So you can always prep this, stick it in the freezer. When you're ready to cook it, you just pull them out and fry them up. So I'm gonna continue making these and then I will meet you at the stove. All right, so my oil is hot. I've already fried up a couple over here, but you just wanna lay it in, and it's a shallow fry. So it's just going to sit like this. You don't wanna go too far because they do brown very, very quickly. And then at that point, you'll just flip it. I mean, the whole thing, each one takes about a minute to do. You also wanna make sure that your oil is hot. So I had it heated on high and then I lowered it to medium so that I can get to temperature. If your oil is too cold, all it will do is soak up the oil, and you don't want that to happen, of course. So you can see the edges are starting to turn brown, and at this point, I'm just gonna flip it like this. I'm gonna continue doing the rest of these, and then I'll show you when they're done. Look at how beautiful. Yum, 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 yum. I wanna show you the inside. So these two I saved on the side because they're just not the prettiest of the bunch, but that's okay because they're gonna taste just as good. And look at this. Look at the inside of this. You can see the flecks of the cilantro. The whole thing takes on a golden color from the turmeric. You can smell the delicious spices. It is just heavenly. It's kind of like, I fold it like a pizza, you know, New York style. So flavorful, so satisfying. I'm not mad that it's Carb Central up in here. You have to make these. They are out of this world, so easy, a really great snack. They taste great the next day. And if you have any extra filling, what I like to do, if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen me do this many times, is take my leftover filling and put it over a salad with whatever dressing that I make or have on hand with some extra veggies. It's absolutely delicious. So I hope you give this a try. And when you do, don't forget to tag me on Instagram at thebitewithjackie. I can't wait to see your remakes of this because it's golden. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time on The Bite. Mm-hmm.